Welcome to QNIT Sports. Let's talk sports. This is NFL Fantasy Week 3. Today we're going to get into my daily fantasy contest to see if I won any money this week. We're also going to go back over Week 3 in the Hateful 8 League to see if I won against my opponent. Go over if I won, what I did to win, and if I lost, what I can do to get better. We're also going to go over my NFL picks from Week 2 and see if I did a little better than last week, where I only got 7 points out of the 16 games that we had going. See if I had some better picks this week. So that's what we're going to cover today. We're going to dive right in. So stay tuned and enjoy the show. All right. So first off, let's get into week 2 and let's talk about my loss against big game players. Now, going into this week, I had a lot of confidence. I feel like my team had a great roster. I felt like my players would come through for me and we could get a win. And as the day progressed, I even felt more so like I could get a win because we went through Sunday and I had a big lead going into Monday. However, Monday night against the Buffalo Bills, I had Derrick Henry for the Tennessee Titans, the running back, and he only got 7 points. Yeah, so he scored a touchdown. I think he had about 20 yards rushing. So he got me about 7 points. And that was not enough for me to win against big game players. So let's just dive in. Let's look at Yahoo's week 2 recap. You know, they gave me the little poo emoji. I don't appreciate that, Yahoo. Y'all didn't have to do me like that. I don't think I played that terrible, but they gave me a C. So basically the average for this week. You know, if you look at the chart here, you get into Sunday, you know, I had to lead the whole day on Sunday. We get into Monday, it's like I barely scored anything. And that's the day where he scored plenty of more points. And the reason why is because of Josh Allen. Josh Allen, T. Higgins, Tyler Bass or Bass. I don't know. It might be Bass. And Daryl Henderson Jr. Those are his guys. They got all the majority of his points for him. And on my team, I had Tyreek Hill, who went off on Sunday, thanks to Tua, his quarterback, who I said in week 1 video, I feel like was underrated. And I'll talk about him a little bit more later in this video. But yeah, Tyreek Hill went off because his quarterback went off. Mark Andrews went off because his quarterback went off. So my receivers did their thing, but my running back core really didn't do much. Mixon tried, but I mean, Derrick Henry didn't hold his own weight this week. He just unfortunately went against the Buffalo Bills, Tennessee Titans. No passing game this week at all. So therefore, the running game was bottled up and he couldn't get any yards. So it is what it is. So I lost this week. I'm not happy about it. It's gonna be okay because I think next week we won't see a repeat of Derrick Henry only scoring 1 touchdown and having 20 yards. Usually, a great player like him, they have a horrible game like that. They come back the next week and then they have like a Hall of Fame game. So he will be starting next week for me and he will be scoring plenty of points. So we'll be fine. I'm not worried about it. 2 games into the season, we got 14 more weeks to go. It's going to be just fine. Still got a chance to get into the playoffs. Still got a chance to win a ring. So I'm not too worried, but just a bad week. And then also what added insult to injury, no pun intended, but Jerry Jeudy got hurt. And so let's just go to my roster so you can see this right quick. This sadness that I'm dealing with on my roster right now. Jerry Jeudy is hurt. According to Yahoo, this guy got hurt in the first quarter and did not return. And he has a chest or sternum injury. So don't know if he's coming back next week. He's day to day. So we'll see. So that happened to me also this week. And he was my number 2 receiver. So I had an injury, and then I had Derrick Henry not perform very well because his team didn't perform very well. So that just screwed me up. But if I would have had my bench players in like Damian Harris or Tony Pollard or even Devontae Smith or even Tom Brady, if these people would have been in, that would have helped my score a lot more and I would have won this game. So that's another reason why I'm not worried is because misusage of your bench players is something that happens. But of course, you're not benching Derrick Henry. So that doesn't count. And then someone getting injured, that doesn't necessarily count either. So the people that I started, injuries and Derrick Henry only scoring 8 points, that's not going to happen very often. This is an anomaly, as they like to say. So we're going to be fine. Week 2 was garbage. We're just going to flush it down the toilet and forget that it ever happened. Let's move over to daily fantasy. So daily fantasy, I only played 2 contests this week. Didn't have any of that free cash that Yahoo likes to throw around when you're betting. So I just did a little bit of something. So did a couple contests. I think I did maybe the same lineup in each or maybe a couple different lineups. One lineup I had Carson Wentz and basically any of the receivers that I thought he could go off with. So I had Gibson, I had McLaurin, and I had Thomas. These are all guys that would be catching passes from Carson Wentz. So I tried to do like a stack where you take a quarterback you think is going to perform well, get his receivers, just run it back, maybe his tight end, put them all in the game with them. And if it's a high scoring game, like this game was pretty high scoring, 36 to 27. That's high scoring, but not in comparison to like the Baltimore and Miami game where both teams had 35 plus points. I think Miami had 42 and Baltimore had like 38. So it's crazy. So that's like a stupid numbers, like 80 points between both teams. That's ridiculous. So that's the highest scoring game. You know what I'm saying? So if I would have had Lamar Jackson or Tua as my quarterback and then had their receiver, their running back, their tight end, see what I'm saying? Then probably would have won this contest. So looking at the person who did win this contest, who's his quarterback, Lamar Jackson. You see what I'm saying? So you got Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle. Both of those are Miami receivers. So instead of getting the Miami quarterback, he went with the Baltimore quarterback, but went with the Miami receivers. So maybe he didn't trust Tua like that, but he trusted Lamar Jackson like that. So he got Lamar Jackson, but he trusted the receivers on Miami more than he trusted the receivers on Baltimore. So he got the man. Dude played this so smart, and he just won himself a cool $3,000 just by understanding how to play daily fantasy. And so the other guys that he got, he got Leonard Fournette and Gibson, 2 guys that we both had. So remember, in week 2, I was talking about when you see the winner, you want to see that you had some grayed out players like the winner did. And I had 2 of them, didn't have enough. Should have had more grayed out players so I could have won some money. May not have won the whole contest, but I could have won a little something. And so tight end had 21 points with Mark Andrews. I mean, he really did pretty good. And his defense, he had the Jacksonville Jaguars, which was a steal because they shut out the Indianapolis Colts 24-0 with 5 sacks and 3 interceptions. And they scored 21 points as a defense. So, yeah, he went off. He made some great decisions and he won himself some money. But let's look at my other lineup right quick. All right, now in this lineup, this is the lineup where I like to choose the same players that I have on my Hateful 8 League squad and see how they would do out there in the daily fantasy to see if they would have actually won some money. So I chose Matt Ryan as a quarterback. Terrible choice. He didn't score any points. He had 3 interceptions. Damian Harris had 15 points. Decent. Mixon. I don't know what was going on with Mixon this week. I mean, they lost the game and he didn't score. So it just wasn't a good week for Mixon in the Cincinnati Bengals. Just what? Tyreek Hill went off as usual. Brandon Cooks, like I said, it's all depending on how his quarterback plays. Judy got hurt. Andrews went off because Lamar Jackson went off. And then this Robbie Anderson guy, I was going out on the limb, like my flex player. Like I said, it's a freebie for me when I'm doing this experiment. And I went out on the limb with Robbie Anderson because the week before he had a pretty good game. I was thinking, well, let's see if the quarterback has this eye for Robbie Anderson, if he likes to show favoritism or not. Apparently not. I mean, he got targeted 5 times, but he didn't score. So it was a wash with him. And then Miami Dolphins, horrible. I mean, their defense was horrible. Like I said, 42-38. So y'all in daily fantasy, when a defense allows 35 points or more, you're now taking points away from your score. So it's not a good idea to have a defense in a high scoring game. So you playing against Baltimore or Kansas City, sometimes it's not very smart to have a defense in a high scoring game, unless that defense is going to score some points on their own, like getting some pick sixes or getting some fumble recoveries and taking it back for a touchdown, or getting a safety or something like that, getting some field goal blocks, doing a whole lot of defensive stuff that's going to rack up the points to take away from the negatives because it was such a high scoring game. And Miami did not do any of that last week. So, yeah, in this contest, I did horrible. And the guy that won had Lamar Jackson at quarterback. Nick Chubb. I mean, this guy for Detroit. So if you picked Brown last week, man, that was a steal. That's crazy. So now we're going to go ahead and cover week 2, the NFL picks that I had this week. I did 1 point better than last week. So I got 8 out of 16 instead of 7. So, hey, progress is progress. It's really tough to try to predict 16 games, but I'm going to be happy with my progress. And I'm just going to pat myself on the back here. So I chose Kansas City over the Chargers, and Kansas City won by 3. So that was a good pick. 31-30, New York Jets over the Cleveland Browns. So I picked Cleveland to win. So they lost by 1. Now, I didn't watch the game, but for what I'm hearing around news talk is that Cleveland had a lead and gave up their lead within the last 2 to 3 minutes of the game. So Cleveland, what are y'all doing? Messing up my sheet here. Could have had an extra point. Detroit versus Washington. I remember in week 1, I said, I'm not picking Detroit until they win. Well, they won this week. So I guess I got to start paying attention to Detroit. I might have to pick them a few times this season. We're going to see. But they beat up on Washington 36-27. All right. Now, Tampa Bay and New Orleans. I thought New Orleans was going to give Tom Brady some trouble, but apparently not enough trouble because they won 20-10. Giants versus Carolina. I thought Giants would win. They did by 3, 19-16. New England and Pittsburgh. I chose Pittsburgh to win. Thought they were going to go on some type of winning streak, I guess, but they lost 17-14 against New England. Now, this Jacksonville and Indianapolis game, I'm still surprised by this. Yes, I did pick Jacksonville to win the game, but I did not expect them to win 24-0 at all. That was a shocker. But I'm glad I picked them to win. The Miami versus Baltimore game, I watched a little bit of that game, and it was a nail biter. But I'm glad Miami won because I picked them to win. But it's just like anyone could have won that game. If the clock would have kept running, Baltimore would have scored again. And if the clock would have kept running after that, Miami would have scored again. It was just score after score after score. It's ridiculous. Man, nothing. I personally haven't seen 2 teams score like that before. Like that was a lot. Los Angeles Rams, Atlanta Falcons. I picked the Rams to win, and they did. They beat Atlanta. Standard high scoring game, 31-27. Seattle versus San Francisco. Now, I thought Seattle would win. Bad pick. San Francisco won 27-7. Dallas versus Cincinnati. I thought Cincinnati would win. Dallas won 20-17. Denver versus Houston. I picked Denver and they won. We got Arizona versus Vegas. I picked Arizona. No, I actually picked Vegas. Why did I do that? I don't know why I did that. I'm gonna have to look at the week 2 video and figure out why I picked them. But anyway, yeah, I picked Vegas to win. They lost. Arizona won 29-23. All right. Green Bay beat Chicago 27-10. Buffalo, I thought they would beat Tennessee, but I didn't think they would win 41-7. That was ridiculous. And then you got Philadelphia over in Minnesota. For some reason, I thought Minnesota was going to play well, and they did not against Philadelphia. Philadelphia beat up on them 24-7. So those are the picks. So looks like last week was tough for me on the picking front, on the daily contest front, and inside of the league. But we're gonna have a better week 3. So stay tuned for the week 3 video where I'll be picking my lineup for the week, and also where I'll be picking my week 3 picks. That video will be coming up soon. This has been Q-Nit Sports. Let's talk sports. I'm your host, Lance Powell. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.